search friends. Definitely depressing.
We've gone through some really weird time periods here.
Here or
Like here in the United States.
Oh yeah, even though we're like one of the youngest countries in the world.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of problems. We're like the problem child of the earth.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, our president is Donald Trump.
That's true. That's true.
If that's not like a more clear like symbolism of your statement you just made, then I don't know what is.
Nothing. Well, what do you think the different ages of America would be? Like, what's the first age of America? Like
the Revolutionary period.
Yeah, like with George Washington. So that was like the era where like you'd wear a big old long white wig.
Yeah, I mean that's like the colonial times after America was founded, and then
that was what was in.
And then the whole like next 100 years almost was like the colonial times until the Civil War, and then you would just call it like the Civil War era, and then after that you would call Reconstruction up until the turn of the century, which is like when we started becoming industrialized, and then after that you would call it like the Roaring Twenties, and then after that you would call it the Great Depression, and then after that you would call it World War II, and then after that you would call it like, what did they call the 50s? I don't know, the baby boom.
Yeah, the baby boom.
60s, like that's like the hippie era, or like the beginning of like modern media in America. 70s, I don't know. Hippies again.
Yeah, it took a while to get rid of the
I mean, I
hippies.
guess there wasn't really hippies that much in the 60s. It was like at the tail end. And then the 80s, that's when the age of techno. Oh, you know what the 50s was, now that I think of it? That was the nuclear era.
Oh, yeah.
That is what they call it.
Yeah, that's like when the Incredible Hulk got discovered.
Discovered?
He got discovered.
He was an ancient alien.
Yeah, they beamed him down.
I don't want to say the Incredible Hulk is necessarily extraterrestrial, but I think he might be extraterrestrial.
I mean, he's green and he's bulging with muscles. What?
Yeah,
what else would an alien look like?
Just like dolphins, like you said in that one episode.
Yeah, dolphins are aliens.
Clearly. They're way too smart for their own good.
They're not from the same alien family as the Hulk, though. They're completely different. I can't imagine a jack dolphin like that. Like, what would it even look like? It would look like one of those sausages that were like held together by string,
Yeah, like before the
muscles would be bulging.
Yeah, before they actually are tied into links.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like almost bursting out of the casing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what the muscles on a.
Mm-hmm. But it would also have like a 24 pack.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just like all down its long stomach.
Just super rounded. Oh man.
And then just a.
But all the chick dolphins would be like, yeah, it's pretty hot.
Oh, so the chick dolphins can't have 24 packs?
No, they can, but all of them would be like, wow, that's a nice 24 pack. It's like how people like 6-packs. Although I feel like the 6-pack thing has gone down a little bit,
Well, especially when there's such a thing as people being attracted to dad bods, which...
Yeah.
Fucking right. Where if anyone knew that was true, it would be me.
Yeah, is it...
Like, fuck you. That shit's not real. Chicks just say that kind of shit to be cute. Like, oh, that guy's kind of cute, like, because he has a dad bod. Like, no. You're not fucking him, though. You're just like, oh, yeah, but he's, like, a dad, so he's off limits. He's, like, an old, like...
Yeah, keywords, he's off limits.
It's fucking bullshit, man.
Yeah.
I hate that term,
It's just to make us feel better about ourselves.
It's
we know it.
Take that dad bod shit and shove it right up your ass. I don't want to hear that shit anymore.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Has the dad bod been a thing for a long time? I feel like the super muscular thing has only been a thing for... It hasn't been a thing for that long. Like, I think that's new. Like, was everybody always attracted to gigantic muscles, but even back in, like, the 50s or the 40s or the 30s? Or
well, how about,
10s?
like, 2,000 years ago in,
Yeah.
like, Roman culture when they had, like,
Yeah, when the
beautiful
Flintstones.
sculptures
Oh,
of...
no, in Rome. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking cavemen, but that's a lot longer.
Yeah.
So,
Ryan really
I
knows his
apologize.
his eras and generations and periods of civilization here on People Also Search For.
Yeah.
Did you like that, Ryan? This time I worked
did.
in the opening my drink into the intro.
That was awesome. I'm a little bit off, though. Here we go.
Well, I you know, you're not obligated to immediately follow my cracking of the beverage.
I know, but it just sounded so smooth this time around when you were introducing the show that
The show
I wanted to be just like that.
the show where we attempt to find the answers to life's greatest questions.
Yeah.
Whether it's about how does chrome plating work or are dolphins extraterrestrials? You know, we're gonna go everywhere from the absurd to the mundane here on the show, and
Yeah.
we'll do our best to make it a funny ride for everyone because we have fun here, Ryan.
We do. And we like to discover all different types of problems from all different decades.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need to go back to something that...
While making comedy gold, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And you know who else searches for gold?
Ew.
Prospectors.
Oh, like that, like Stinky Pete from Toy Story.
Yeah,
He's
like
I'm Stinky Pete.
Yeah, exactly. Like Toy Story 2.
It's funny that they would make that character like a big old fat guy, because wouldn't you think that any prospector or most manual laborers at all would be like fucking cut? Because
Yeah, they're out in the sun all day, like swinging that big axe.
yeah, like I don't know why they made him a sloppy fat guy.
I don't know.
I mean,
haven't they seen Zoolander?
Well, I guess it made the character funnier because he was supposed to be like a toy, so like an extreme like characterization of, you know, because it was supposed to be like a kid's toy of a prospector.
Yeah. So basically, the image of prospector that we have is just the super stereotyped image of what a prospector is, but there's no way they would actually be like that in real life.
Or maybe a prospector is just the guy that goes around and panhandles for, or is that what they called it? Panhandling? Where they would like sift through like rivers for gold artifacts, and then they would like follow the source to where like there's more gold.
I think. Yeah. They would check the water to see how much is in that specific spot.
Yeah, I forgot what it was called.
I think it is panhandling. But a prospector is a person who searches for mineral deposits, especially by drilling and excavation. So there's modern prospectors, but I want to know about the gold they found. I want to know about that gold rush.
Can you first see what it's called when they...
Oh, panhandling?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I know panhandling now is when you stand on the road and ask for money.
Yeah, this is the modern version.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if it was called panhandling, but that's the first word that came to mind.
A panhandler is a person who stops people in the street and asks them for money. That's what it means now.
That's pretty much exactly what I said.
Yeah, you had it right on the bottle.
Just put like sifting for gold.
In the Old West.
Sure. Oh, that was the first thing that came up after you put sifting for.
Okay, sifting for gold in the Old West. How to pan for gold in the Wild West.
Pan for gold, okay.
Wild
So
West. Jim West, Desperado.
Yeah. Pan was right.
Okay. Oh, you want to become panhandlers?
No.
We can figure out how to pan for gold in the Wild West.
Yeah. But I don't want to be a panhandler.
Okay. Why not?
Because I don't want to be a beggar.
You're right. I mean, these people weren't really begging. I guess they were begging the lake to give them gold, like the lake was some kind of...
The lake.
Yeah, like the lake was some a stream, the stream and/or lake was some kind of a god. They're begging him. That's where the term comes from.
I'm not sure if that's what the mindset was, but you know, you never know.
Well, we're gonna find out how to do it.
Maybe there was an old prospector Ryan back in the
maybe
1800s.
He would have loved gold,
and he was begging the earth every day. He was facing east and bowing to the river and asking it nicely for gold.
Yeah. And then praying and reading different scripts from a book every single day.
Yeah, like an incantation.
Yeah, and then summoning the gold from the river.
Yeah, totally. But it tells us on this website how to actually pan for gold, so let's see what that would mean.
All right, so number 1 is you fill your pan. The traditional method for panning for gold is so simple it has rarely changed in the hundreds of years since its introduction. To start, take a large scoop of gravel and pour it into a shallow pan. Make sure you remove any large rocks and inspect them.
Gotta inspect those big uns.
Okay, so we were taking a scoop of gravel. Number 2, you're gonna do
choose a spot. The next stage of the process is all about selecting the right location to begin your panning. The best place to pan is at a point on the shore of a river,
not a lake,
or flowing body of water that's more than 15 centimeters deep.
Also not a lake.
It's all right, Ryan. We all make mistakes. A mild current is ideal for this. Beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, once you find it, you gotta sift through it. That's number 3. Now submerge the contents of your pan and let the water wash away any dirt. Remember, mud will float up, but gold will sit as it is so dense. Once the dirt has been separated, begin to shake the pan vigorously just under the surface of the water. So the gold is much more dense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you do after that? Number 4.
Yeah, you got to refine the hull. Shaking will filter bigger rocks to the top. Discard these, but of course, remember to inspect them first. Repeat the last 2 steps and remove the top rocks. Drain the water and repeat from the start. Keep removing the heavy materials, iron, minerals, etc. until you are left behind with fine ass flecks of gold. Shiny gold. If you're lucky, it says. So, okay, a nice 4-step process. Yeah.
Sounds easy. You know, can you imagine going to just a river and putting a pan in it and getting mud in it and then shaking it out and there's just chunks of gold there?
I mean, what else did they have to do? Like ride their horse and hunt for food and water? Like, I mean...
Yeah, but that's like you get so rich doing this. I mean, I know the rivers have all run dry now.
Do those guys look rich, Ryan? I assume those are prospectors.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, none of them look fat to me. But they all do look quite gnarled with
and the
big old beards. Yeah,
the big old beards. That's what I was
Hey, you need a big old beard to protect you from being out in the sun all day, you know?
They aren't wearing, like,
you don't want to
jeans and overalls, though. Like jean overalls.
Oh, yeah, I know. Like denim overalls.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one guy on the left kind of looks like he is, but maybe not.
I don't think so.
But yeah, they're definitely just wearing normal 1800s clothes.
They look like samurais of the Old West.
Is panning for gold what started the gold rush?
Well, we can just type in what started the gold rush.
You're learning how to simplify now, Ryan, are you?
I just wrote down what you said there, Jacob.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I said, is panhandling God damn it, is panning for gold what started the gold rush? And you're like, oh, I'll just type in what started the gold rush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because then we'll know if you're right or wrong. All right. Well, there's the California Gold Rush is the first thing that comes up, but I don't know if that's what it is.
I think that's the most like common one that people think of.
Ah, okay.
Like the 49ers.
Yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers are based on the California Gold Rush.
We said we weren't going to talk about sports on here, Jacob, and you're talking about sports.
Wow. Because I know the name of a football team.
I'm hurt.
It's pretty harsh, Ryan. And plus,
It's
you
okay.
know,
I know the 49ers.
and you know I like a little bit of sports,
You
but
do.
we're not going to talk about that here.
We can one day. Not right this day.
We'll see. The California Gold Rush, however, was a gold rush that began on January 24th, 1848, when gold was found by James W. Marshall at Sutter's Mill in Coloma, California. Ooh. Fresh gold. The news of gold brought approximately 300,000 people to California from the rest of the United States and abroad. The sudden influx of gold into the money supply reinvigorated the American economy, and the sudden population increase allowed California to go rapidly to statehood. In the Compromise of 1850, the gold rush had severe effects of the native Californians and resulted in a precipitous native population decline from disease, genocide, and starvation. Oh, there you have your downside. I mean, I don't think the Native Americans cared that much about the gold, and they died. By the time it ended, California had gone from thinly populated ex-Mexican territory to having one of its first two U.S. senators, John C. Fremont, selected to be the first presidential nominee for the new Republican Party in 1856. Damn.
Wow.
So, so just another fine example of how the United States, exploration and expansion killed many, many Native Americans.
Oh, boy.
Let's spin that into comedy gold, Ryan.
All right.
No, it's fine though. We're here to learn and.
It's okay. They have all the gold now. They own the casinos. Right?
What?
It's okay. They have all the gold now because they own the casinos. All the gold coins you win at the casinos.
Who's they?
The Native Americans.
Do they? I think a lot of them live in poverty, Ryan.
They do. Do they?
Well, maybe the ones that live on, reservations.
We should just invite them over here and
Sure.
let them live through the American dream. Getting a random job and just barely making your way.
Yeah. Sounds a lot better.
It
than
does.
Getting
It
yourself
does.
into horrible debt.
It does. It sounds good. It sounds a lot better than the California Gold Rush did to them.
I heard recently a story about a guy that was, I think he was around, I think he was around 30. And he had gone to a really nice school to get a medical degree.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up going about $400,000 into debt.
Whoa!
And he went to get his his final MD exam to actually get his license. And there's 3 parts to it. And for some reason, he failed one of the sections that a lot of people easily get through.
Mm-hmm.
And just because he failed this one part of the test, which also cost $1,500, mind you, he did not get his license, and you can't retake the test.
You can never retake the test?
From what I hear. So he just got stuck with $400,000 of debt and a medical medical background that he couldn't use.
Wow.
So
I feel like there should be a way around that.
And eventually he just decided, after going back to live with his parents for a few years, he just decided, I'm just going to go into the military now.
Wow.
Yep.
Was he a military medic? at least?
No, he went in as like an officer, I think.
Oh.
But still, there's your fucking American dream, Ryan.
Yep.
I'd rather go out and be one of those dirty ass men that you saw that were panning for gold.
Yeah, me too. I think panning for gold, it seems like a kind of a fun job. It's like you're out, it's hot out, but you're in like a cool lake, you know, you're shaking around, you're finding
You're
free,
shaking around.
yeah, and you're finding free money. Like,
yeah.
It's basically like, it sounds like something out of your dreams.
Well, unfortunately, like they said, the 300,000 people that came to California, like, were all there to find all the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them didn't.
A lot of them didn't find any gold?
Well, yeah, because you think that many people ended up, like, getting rich off gold? Like, no, a lot of them got, like, pushed out from, like, wherever they were already, you know, like, people already were.
Oh.
Like, I'm sure, like, if somebody had already found, like, a deposit that, like, seemed like there was more there, I'm sure they weren't just letting other guys, like, they were probably, like, killing each other over the, you know, like, I'm sure a lot of, like, murder happened because of that shit, because people were, you know, trying to get that free money you were talking about.
Yeah, if there was like a convention or something where they were just giving away free money, I feel like that would become a madhouse.
Exactly.
There's no way that would go well. Like, you're getting paid to just go. Especially if, like, imagine just getting the offer of, you can have a free $50. All you have to do is come to this location on this day. Imagine how many people would show up to that.
Yeah.
And if it was completely legitimate.
Well, that's such a small amount of money, though. Not that many people would show up, because if it was too far away, it wouldn't even be worth the gas money to drive there.
Within, like, 20 miles, everybody.
Yeah, mostly everybody.
Yeah, some people aren't going to care about the money. There's going to be the outliers, but I think mostly everybody in like a 20-mile radius of the location.
Well, if that exact scenario happened like today, I would be like, no fucking way, because I'm going to end up wasting like 10 hours. Like, I could have made $50 doing something else in 10 hours, you know?
That's true.
Instead of like wasting my I could have even had more fun just not.
You probably could have made like $500 if you were like a prostitute.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. I just wanted to imagine you in that situation.
All right, that's I'm going to scoot over a little bit because that's
because you're being driven out.
Yeah, by your sick, perverted fucking mind.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about 49ers. I mean, it's not about football, but it's actually about, you know.
Wow.
I mean, do you want to learn about that?
I do, because this is like what the football team is based on.
Do you want to find out if they were actually murdering each other, Ryan?
Yeah, and then years later we made a football team.
Yeah, to
commemorate that.
And that's what all these, you know, hardworking guys died for.
Yeah.
So that somebody else could get paid hundreds of millions of dollars to slam their body into people on a field while millions of people watch.
And yeah, to carry a ball from one end of a field to another end of the field and then carry it back.
I mean, but in the same regard, you know, we could say the same thing with like the Washington Redskins, because that's, you know. But we're not going to go into that. Like, I don't really care that much. It's
Neither
more
do
funny
I.
to me, especially with the 49ers.
Yeah. Who were the first people to rush to the gold fields beginning in the spring of 1848, where the residents of California themselves, primarily agriculturally oriented Americans and Europeans living in Northern California, along with the Native Americans and the Californios, Spanish-speaking Californians. I didn't know there was a word for that. Spanish-speaking Californians, Californios.
Yeah, neither did I.
That's interesting. The first miners tended to be families in which everyone helped in the effort. Women and children of all ethnicities were often found panning next to the men. Some enterprising families set up boarding houses to accommodate the influx of men. In such cases, the women often brought a steady income while their husbands searched for gold. Whoa! Bringing home the bacon. All the ladies were bringing home the bacon while their husbands went out and panhandled.
Wonder how they did that.
Yeah.
Setting up boarding homes and accommodations.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? While their husbands were gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how they made that money.
Yeah, well, how else?
Yep.
I mean, unless it was just from the patronage of these gentlemen who were coming into
just
town.
passing by.
Yeah. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's what they were doing.
Word of the gold rush spread slowly at first. The earliest gold seekers were people who lived near California or people who heard the news from ships of the fastest sailing routes to California. First large group of Americans to arrive were several thousand Oregonians who came down the Siskiyou Trail. Old Siskiyou. Next came people from the Sandwich Islands. Sandwich. Pretzels and cheese.
Sandwich.
And several thousand Latin Americans, including people from Mexico, Peru, and as far away as Chile, both by ship and overland. By the end of 1848, some 6,000 Argonauts had come to California. They don't say anything about murder here, Ryan. Oh, I see Lawless Places. Alright, so anyway, we're going to see a little bit what happened after the people came and settled there, and after much sickness and pushing out of indigenous people happened. Then when the gold rush began, the California gold fields were particularly lawless places. Oh, scary.
It's like a wasteland of people.
When gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill, California was still technically part of Mexico, under American occupation as a result of the Mexican-American War. With the signing of the treaty ending of the war on February 2nd, 1848, California became a possession of the United States. Okay, I didn't even know that that happened in the same time period. It was not a formal territory and did not become a state until September 9th, 1850. California existed in the usual condition of a region under military control. There was no civil legislature, executive, or judicial body for the entire region. Local residents operated under a confusing and changing mixture of Mexican rules, American principles, and personal dictates. Lax enforcement of federal laws such as Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 encouraged the arrival of free blacks and escaped slaves. So this is what the Wild West, when you think of the Wild West, this is the time period,
Yeah.
before the Civil War and stuff. California was barely a thing, because there's imagine how fucking scary that must have been, that you knew that it was oh, this is part of the U.S. now, but then you're well, there's no government and there's no representation of this country, because a lot of the stuff in between California and east of the Mississippi wasn't even state, weren't even official states yet. They were just large territories.
So, yeah, just completely lawless.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
It is cool to think that was real, and that's how everything actually was at a certain point.
I mean, that's why people are drawn to stuff like Red Dead Redemption, it is, personally, I've loved, old Western movies since, maybe 10 or more years ago, and I love, all the spaghetti westerns and stuff and Clint Eastwood films. It's just, it's really dramatic, and scary. The way they portray it, it's quiet and scary, and you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
And there's always a scene at the end where there's two men staring each other down with a pistol, and whoever shoots first wins.
Yeah. like a draw.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, a draw, I think.
Or a duel, maybe?
A duel, yeah. Yeah, it's like how Alexander Hamilton died. We were doing that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Duels.
Well, that came from Europe, so it's not that we've been doing it. It did come over from Europe, really. I mean, there's also...
Are there cowboys in Europe?
What?
Were there, like, cowboys in Europe? Was that a big thing?
I'm sure there was, like men that traveled to Europe. Like, remember I was telling you about that show, Penny Dreadful?
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy that's... You know who Wild Bill is? Like, the legendary guy from the Old West?
Yeah.
Wild Bill.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the characters in Penny Dreadful, and he's the guy that becomes the werewolf. So he's like an American guy that traveled to Europe, like fleeing his old life.
Yep, Wild Bill Hickok.
Yeah, so they used him as the werewolf character, which I thought was pretty...
That's cool.
And you know who it was? Josh Hartnett.
Nice.
Hell yeah. He's pretty badass.
Yeah, he is.
He died in Deadwood, South Dakota. Well, this is Wild Bill.
Yeah, this is
the
real
so
Wild
he
Bill.
was a guy, yeah.
Yeah, he was real.
Okay.
Yeah, it was James Butler Hickok, better known as Wild Bill Hickok, was a folk hero of the American Old West and known for his work across the frontier as a drover, wagon master, soldier, spy, scout, lawman, gunfighter, gambler, showman, and actor. That is a lot.
Yep, he was a jack of all trades.
Yeah, he was like how like Childish Gambino is now.
Wow, that's quite a comparison to draw.
Yeah.
I don't know if Childish Gambino could beat him in a duel though, because Wild Bill was like mostly known as a showman. Like, he did like trick shooting, and he could basically defend himself like better than anyone because he could do like trick shooting.
Yeah, I think he could learn it though. You know, Childish Gambino.
Yeah, I'm sure he could. But
I think that he could learn it.
But he's not already like, you know, that's not his thing. I mean, maybe he could kill Wild Bill with some sick freestyles.
Probably. But well, no, it's because he's a jack of all trades. He's in the movies.
No, I said I didn't know if he could beat him in a duel.
Yeah, but I'm saying like he's probably acted with a gun before, like so maybe he knows like some sweet tricks from like acting classes, you know, where they like are doing like fighting scenes.
Yeah, but they use blanks.
Yeah, but
they're not shooting at actual
just because you
targets.
aren't shooting a real gun doesn't mean you wouldn't know how to from doing the training.
Do you think Keanu Reeves is like a master shot because he trained to do his John Wick movies?
Yeah, probably. You think that they would have never like shot before? They have to do training to know how to shoot a real gun.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he like was able to hit like a target, but I don't know if he like went through like rigorous like defense shooting courses or anything like that.
Yeah, but
because he wasn't doing it to defend himself. He was he was like training to like do the physical choreography of it.
I'm just thinking like you'd think like now it would be easier to learn than some guy in 1837. Like, well, there's no way that.
Well, I mean, he lived exactly the time period we were talking about with the gold rush. Like,
yeah.
He had a reason to like
carry a gun.
Yeah, to like actually kill people that came after him. You know, like because he lived in the Wild West. Like people just always killed each other back then. So that's all I'm saying is like.
That'd be so scary to even try and go out. That's why whenever you went to a store, like a saloon, it's all like there's nobody around, and then you go in, and it's banging in there.
I mean, he did only live like 39 years, so he didn't even like reach 40. So I mean, everyone had a smaller life expectancy back then, but I think 40 is like a pretty good age for when you're constantly like having to defend yourself against. Whether it was Native Americans or like just lawless like criminals.
Trying to steal your gold that you prospected.
Or your gold that you had from like being a trick shooter.
Yeah. I wonder. Well, I bet a lot of them would kill each other to steal each other's stuff, right?
I guess it depended. Like if they looked like they were wealthy, you probably had a better chance of getting robbed if you were out in the Wild West.
I'm curious how often those battles happened in the Wild West, like where they like a duel, like. How often did they duel in the Wild West?
When you started typing how often, the first thing that came up was, how often should you poop?
Really? Maybe we'll have to take a side.
Maybe.
Should we? Should we see how often?
I don't care, Ryan. It's up to you. I mean, I guess we have to have a little bit of scatological humor in each episode.
Well, the first one, it's just the first thing that comes up is how often should you poop?
First thing after what? After how often?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So I wanted to know real quick how often you should poop. And, less than 40% of healthy people poop once a day. All right. Cool.
Less than 40%. So almost half of people poop once a day.
Yeah.
And that says of healthy people.
Yes.
I mean that's I don't know what exactly that like means, because if it's split halfway, then that means some people could poop maybe once more a day, or once every other day.
Well, people also ask, is pooping once a week bad? I think that's a little bit easier way to answer this.
That's pretty clear.
For most of your life, you have a bowel movement every day. That's your normal. Some people have a bowel movement about 3 times a week, while others only once a week. So after all these years, you should know what's normal for you. Oh, so that's okay. So I guess it's fine as long as it's normal for you.
Yeah, you'd have to probably be eating very little to have to poop only once a week.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's probably not...
That's probably not healthy.
Yeah, it doesn't say which one of these is healthy, but, it says most people do it once a day, and, like, that's probably the most normal.
What if your, metabolism is super slow, though, and it just builds up, but every time you poop, it's like this gigantic load? That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't have to do with the time. Just has to do with what's in there, plus... What?
That's like a terrible thought. And I don't think that's how it works anyways.
Yeah.
You're talking about, like, after a week of not pooping, you, like, fill up the entire toilet bowl. I really doubt that's how it works.
If your metabolism is just that slow, or it just builds up in there.
I mean, I
don't think that's how it works.
I've walked in the bathroom stalls that would come close to arguing that. And it's...
Where, like Wendy's?
I don't know, Ryan. Anywhere. Like, when you accidentally go into a stall and you just see someone's remains, and it's like, clearly, there was no way that was all going down.
Yep.
And maybe they used also, like, a half of a roll of toilet paper, and you're just like, what the fuck? It's like, whoever is gonna, like, whatever, like, poor employee is gonna have to clean that is gonna probably have to, like, take some of it out of the toilet.
Oh, man. Yeah, like, cut it in half, and just send it down in sections.
Oh, my fucking God. Oh, man.
Have you ever been that guy? Have you ever had to do that?
No.
Me neither.
But
I bet truck stops are the worst for that.
God.
Imagine being, like, the janitor at just, like, I don't know, like a pilot or something.
Yeah. On that note, I don't think I want to think about that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to rush back to the gold rush.
And if there was anyone still listening this far into the podcast, I'm sure they're not now.
Probably not. That's Google's fault. It was the first thing that came up.
It's partially your fault.
That's true. I'm not gonna.
Although I mean, it's partially my fault for noticing it, but I would never have been like, let's check it out.
You know, I thought it had the chance to be a little bit funny.
It was pretty funny, but it was very disgusting as well.
Well, you know, the internet, it's got all kinds of places to go.
Plus, you know, sometimes we like to read a little Wikipedia and learn something, and then for 10 minutes talk about giant shits. That's
life.
the gamble that you're gonna have to take when you're hanging out with us here on People Also Search For. But for now, we're gonna go backwards and get back into the Wild West.
Yeah.
And we wanted to know what, Ryan?
How common? Well, I wanted to know how often they would duel in the Wild West, but we found on Quora it's how common were gun draw duels in the Wild West, and there's probably some answers in there.
Yeah. The first one says, I was trying to figure out what the thing. I think that's a book that's listed up there at the top, but I don't know. Then it says, and this sounds already snarky from the first sentence, so I'm going to do it in a little snarky voice. I did a fair amount of research on this for my Old West nonfiction book. Oh, my voice is panning out here. I never found a single example of the deliberate, fair fight, quick draw gunfight in all my reading. The nearest was in a New Mexico bar when two guys started arguing about who was fastest. Apparently got madder as they went and finally stepped back into the test the question, so to speak. When the bar cleared, they started laughing and went back to drinking. It was a joke. So they were basically, rubbing their chests together. By then, the idea... Fucking chads. By then, the idea of that sort of gunfight had become a created myth in the dime novels. There is no doubt that anyone who used a gun practiced getting them out and into play quickly, just as they worked on making the first shot count. John Wesley Harding was famous for his constant practice. He often carried two guns in his front pants pockets, barrel up, and worked on how quickly he could jerk them off. Out and fire. That last statement had nothing to do with my nonfiction book. A landlady of in El Paso, Texas, said when he did that and dry fired, it sounded like a baby's rattle, and he fired so fast. No law officer would get into a situation that might require a gun with his in its holster or pocket. In fact, given a choice, he would be carrying a long gun of some sort. In that town was usually a shotgun. The handgun, however, was sort of a last resort. On the other side of the law, there was a strong preference for using a long, hard gun, preferably from behind a tree or something. Yeah. Behind a tree. That's where they always left all their long guns. So other guys could, stumble upon their long-ass gun behind a tree and they could show it to each other and, touch it a little bit. Look upon James Brown. Killing Miller, to see James Brown Miller, that is, to see how an Old West assassin worked. I mean, that's just what my research shows.
Yeah, and I like how they didn't even answer how common gun duels were in the Wild West.
Well, he did at the beginning, but he was saying that it basically never happened, and the one example he found was a joke.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that person says they're a professor.
Ooh.
A Fulbright scholar. Ooh, let's see what he has to say, Ryan.
Two men facing off to see who could draw fastest was a fad that came and went in about a year. Oh, that sounds not too long then. Very quickly, men realized that it was foolish to give your opponent the chance to kill you. Oh, okay. So they just started. Okay, so the duel thing stopped because they decided they should just start shooting each other.
Yeah, so
then they wouldn't lose.
They had more at stake than people in Europe who did it, where it was like a thing about like chivalry, whereas in the Wild West it was like, I need this fucking gold. I'm killing you. Sorry, we're not having no fucking duel.
Yeah, it's either I'm gonna get the gold or I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like.
That's why it sounds, quite scary to have lived back then.
Yeah, because it would basically be like if you saw a homeless person on the side of the road, they would immediately kill you, and wouldn't even question it for a second, and then they would basically take all your things and become you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like in Minecraft where you like pick up like some different armor and then you put on the armor. That armor that was laying on the floor on that dead body, that is you now.
Pretty much. Unless you get caught.
Yeah. But then you just kill the people who caught you too. It's a never-ending cycle of you killing people until you die. Well, and everybody else was killing people until they died.
Yeah, that's why everyone died pretty young when they were living out there. But that was the cost that it took to be somebody that helped found a whole area of the country.
I wonder, like, it's kind of disturbing to think that, like, everybody was just so accustomed to shooting people back then. It's like, when did that start? Like, when the first guns were made and, like, that started? Like, was it when the first guns were made were people just like, oh, okay, like, we can shoot people now?
Okay.
Like, is that how it was?
I don't know. I mean, that'd be a whole separate, like, search. I mean, we could try to find out, but
that could be a whole episode on the history of, like, shooting. I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe not.
That's a little bit of a, hot topic these days.
That's true, but I need to know what happened when guns were invented.
That's fine. I'm sure we can figure that out pretty quickly.
Okay. This first thing. Around the late 14th century in Europe, smaller and portable handheld cannons were developed, creating, in effect, the first smooth-bore personal firearm. Well, but wasn't that after the gold rush? Or no, that was...
No, this is in the 14th.
Oh, in the 14th century, yeah. So...
I don't know if they had handheld guns, though. Like, cannons were technically, like, the first gun.
True, and we've had those since, like, pirates.
Well, even thousands of years ago, the Chinese technically had, like, projectile weapons that were fueled by gunpowder. But they weren't, like, a handheld thing. I think like, handguns only go back to, like, the 18th century.
Oh, okay. I guess
It says right there, the first successful rapid firearm is the Gatling gun, invented by Richard Gatling and fielded by the Union forces during American Civil War in the 1860s. Like, they used mostly rifles in the Civil War, and then handguns were invented, like, in between the 1860s and, like, the 1890s, I think.
So could just anybody in, like, the 14th century just have a gun? Like, and it didn't matter, like, it wasn't regulated?
It was probably the government, though, because I don't think anyone would have had the means to create a gun unless they knew, like, what all the raw material. I just don't think the, like, access to the knowledge of that was, accessible to everyone. Like, people knew that cannons existed, but they didn't think, can I go buy a cannon from the cannon store? It's like, no, there's specific companies that make them, like, specifically for the government. I mean, that's why any government now has, like, a certain amount of money that they use for their military, and it's like billions and billions of dollars, because that's mostly creating weapons.
It's probably different now because you can't really. You can just buy a gun at the store, but there's a bunch
but you can't buy, like, an anti-tank rifle at the store.
Yeah, but you wouldn't need that back when the prospecting was happening. They definitely I think it was more like, yeah,
they had revolvers.
Yeah, revolvers.
You know, after like the Civil War, I don't. They might have. I think they did have revolvers in the Civil War, but
in the Wild West, they had revolvers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just like a bullet in a chamber, and it shoots out 6-shot.
Yeah, and like I'm pretty sure you were able to get a gun like in most parts of the United States, because unless the I don't know. I think the manufacturers probably originally made them for the military, and then they were like, oh, other people need guns too because there's like murder and stuff happening.
I wonder if like the Wild Western fashion from now is anything like it was during that actual time. You know, like what people that are like country now like wear like that kind of a thing.
In a little like certain ways, like it's just simplistic clothing.
Like Wild Western clothing.
Wasn't that weird. A lot of people made their own clothes, though.
I don't know if wildwestmerchandise.com is going to be the place where I find this one.
No, it's going to be like reproduction stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know how you would find that out. I mean, I guess there's...
Well, I mean, these are like actual pictures.
Yeah, if you look at actual pictures, that's one thing, but you can't necessarily tell like what the material is.
No, it just looks like cotton. Or cotton and leather. It just seems like a lot of cotton and leather.
Yeah, that's true.
And everybody's got like a scarf. This guy right here, he's looking like he has one of those sashes like Scottish. Like he'd be Scottish. You see that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
He has a Scottish sash on, but he's in the Wild West. This guy was way, way more fashionable than the rest of them.
It might be like a Mexican culture thing, because he looks like he might be Hispanic.
Maybe.
Now, these are according to the subtitle, it says these are the Texas Rangers, so, I mean, it would make sense if there was, like, Mexican guys that were Texas Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is what I imagine all the gold. This guy looks exactly like what I would imagine a gold rush man would look like.
Yeah.
2 pistols in hand. 3 pistols. He's got more pistols than he can handle. But, yeah, he doesn't look like a very happy guy. He looks a little bit angry.
I mean, it's clearly like a modern photo. It's just somebody that's... I mean, you could... I know some people do, like, colorized, like, old photos.
Yeah, I wish I could find one. It looked like that one was like the main, because this is definitely later in time.
I mean, I feel like if you watch like most old Western, like, movies or shows, that would give you an idea, because
I wonder how much of that
accurate.
is like Hollywood though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they might be made out of like better materials, but other than that, I think the look of them is the same. Like, that's what like wardrobe departments are for, to like find out the exact type of like period clothing to use.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, because there are photographs from then, it seems like.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or artistic depictions as well, and they pretty much look exactly like you'd see in a Western. Now, like, the stuff that you see now is much more mild, though.
I mean, there's historical Emporium that's selling classic canvas trousers. So
whoa. So
clicked on the wrong one.
I did?
Yeah, it was the one next to it on the right.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if those look real to me. This looks like some weird costume, like a Halloween costume.
I mean, they're canvas. And the place is called Historical Emporium. It says authentic products and old-fashioned something.
Yeah, I don't know. This looks like a costume to me. I think it could have looked realer than this. The colors are too bright.
Well, it's because they haven't been traveling around in the desert for 4 years wearing the same clothes.
I guess,
of course, it's going to look more bright.
I guess that's true.
Plus, you were looking at, like, old... silver plate photographs.
Yeah. I guess since I've never seen it, just looks wrong in color and so bright since all the photographs you see it in.
Yeah, they're all like cyan, or not cyan, they're all sienna colored.
Yeah, and a lot of the movies are black and white, and it's just like seeing it in color. It just looks.
Well, I'm sure if
doesn't look fashionable.
I'm sure if you took the red shirt and the red scarf and the blue shirt and like took them outside and like left them in the front yard for a couple weeks, then you'd have a better idea of what it would have looked like after it was like weathered, and dirty.
That's true. Because I bet in that time period you didn't get a new change of clothes very often. Like, it was expensive. You had to have it personally made.
And if like all you could take with you was like whatever you can put on a horse.
Oh yeah.
So you don't necessarily want half of it to be clothes. You need like food and water and fucking whiskey or whatever.
Yeah, it was like you'd have like 2 pairs. You put one on, and you'd have 1 pair of pants and like 2 shirts, and, like some underwear.
Yeah. Pretty gross.
Yeah, and you just like wash your clothes in the creek while you're in your underwear, and then you put your clothes on, and then you wash your underwear, and you just tradesies. So you only need one thing.
Well, or you would just take your clothes off, go into the river to wash yourself and your underwear, get out, then wash your clothes, then let them dry in the sun.
So almost never take off your underwear.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. That would be uncomfortable, I think. Wearing soggy underwear for that while, although under that hot sun. And you know what's it's crazy when you go into the water to wash yourself, you can come out and you basically have gotten a bunch of free gold. It's just like you're covered in gold flakes, and you're like, all right, you wash it up, and you're like, I just got paid to take a bath. That's what we need here in this time. We need to start paying people to take baths.
Yeah.
Especially at like anime conventions.
Yeah. Or, I don't know. There's plenty of people that you're like, man, I would pay you to fucking take a shower right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Plenty of people, Ryan, but unfortunately no one's going to make them that offer. At least I know I won't.
I won't either. Because
we'll just say
it doesn't bother me that much.
So we'll just say it here. Everyone, make sure you bathe or take a shower.
Yeah.
And don't be smelly.
Definitely. You want to make sure that you stay clean.
Yeah.
Clean and lean. Maybe not lean. Enjoy yourself a nice burger sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Get yourself
lots of big fatty burger.
Oh, what?
Big fatty burger, no lean.
Ooh.
It sounds delicious. I could go for that right now.
Cook one up on the grill or go to Five Guys. Probably just as good.
Yeah. Five Guys makes me sick though, so.
Yeah, you said that before, and you said you never had a burger without the fries, so I'm thinking it's the fries' fault.
Okay.
And fine. I want you to give it another chance.
I'm going to try it. When I have Five Guys, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a Five Guys burger review.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a video.
That would be great. The people need to know.
Yeah, we'll make some random food videos at some point, but we got a lot of stuff going on right now, especially Ryan, and maybe we'll update you guys on some of that stuff in the future, but for now, we're just going to keep giving you one podcast a week and, maybe 1 or 2 Let's Plays here and there, and, just hang tight, and we're going to keep making some new stuff here on People Also Search For.
Yeah. Good. Dream about gold.